So tell.
Claire.
Where have you been? What have you done? And what's coming next?
Well, where have I been? Fuck knows. Well, my journey's been I think I always say it's been a normal one, you know what I mean? Because I don't ever think what I've been up to or what I've learned is trauma. I never knew any of that stuff was a thing or it actually affected how I lived my life.
Uh-huh.
But since stopping drinking, therapy, all this, that and the other, you start piecing everything together. And,
Yeah.
my mum left me when I was around about 12, 13 years old, second year of secondary school.
Okay.
My sister was about 7, and my brother, who would have been about 2 or 3 years old. And that, I remember when, because I came back from school, and my house was always busy. I had all my aunties, my cousins. There was always some people. There's always gatherings at my house, after school. I came back one day after school, and there was no one answering the door, and I was like, "It's weird." I'm looking through the window, and I sat down on the doorstep for about 45 minutes, and my old man came round the corner, saying, "Your mum's gone away for a bit. You're staying around your auntie Kimmy's house." And at the time, I remember thinking, and I still remember this because back in the day, if you had cable, not many people had cable TV.
Mm-hmm.
They had cable TV. Straight away, I was like, "Oh, I can watch the wrestling." That's and I remember going around there, and then not knowing that moment there was what is it? Attachment issues or something.
Okay.
Or is it attachment? From my mum and that, like the split. And then that, and I only learnt that. I remember my first therapy session was talking about that part of my life.
Yeah.
And at the same time, my son was the same age as I was when my mum left.
Okay.
And she goes, "Imagine your son Frankie sitting on that doorstep, wondering where his parents are."
Yeah.
Oh man, when I pictured my little boy sitting on that step and then picturing me as that little boy, oh mate, I was like,
oh
yeah, you know what I mean? I was like, oh man, like, because you are just a kid, you know what I mean? Like, but I remember, that sort of age, I thought I knew the world, you know what I mean? Like, anyway, it weren't long before, my mum had buggered off up north with another fella, and my dad was always working away. My sister and brother sort of been looked after by other members of the family, or when my dad was back, he was always down the pub, and then I'd be sort of looking at bringing up my 2 sister and brother, who like younger, you know what I mean. And it didn't take long before I was smoking dope, drinking alcohol down the Riverside Wreck, and I loved it. You know what I mean? I remember the first drink was about a bottle of Foster's Ice, and I was smashed. You know what I mean? And then it was a litre of cider, and then I remember we went out one weekend because we had an Indian shop in Ham. And I remember when I was about 9, 10 years old, I'd be sent down there with a note from my mum and neighbours and all that, get a loaf of bread, pint of milk, 40 fags, a couple of bottles of wine or whatever at that age. So, so me going in there at 12, 13, going, we buy single fags, get the alcohol. There's no problem. So, drinking alcohol and getting older, it was no problem back then.
So would you forge the notes or something?
I did at the beginning, but then after that, he didn't care about the notes. Dodgy bastards, eh? As long as they got their money. And then, I might have to cut. Yeah, they don't. Yeah, as long as they got the money off us kids. So I remember once we were going in there and getting a 2-litre bottle of Turbo White. Because the litre, they didn't have a litre inside a 2-litre bottle, and I woke up the next day on my football manager's sofa, all in his clothes, because I just passed out in the rain. Yeah. My mates came back there, they thought I was going to die of hypothermia, and I remember Nish. And that was pretty much how my drinking went on. I weren't falling asleep in the rain every day and waking up my football manager's house, but I didn't remember a lot going through, you know what I mean? They call it blackout. Drinking, didn't they? Yeah. And pretty much up until I gave up alcohol, which is nearly April. It's going to be 7 years.
Yay! That's incredible.
Yeah. But up until then, even though I can't remember Friday or Saturday, just gone yesterday, the day before. But I know that I've done something. I've done something productive.
Yeah.
Whereas, so basically, and then my first introduction to Alcoholics Anonymous was I was 20 years old and I went to Young Offenders Institution in Dover.
Right.
Got into a little bit of trouble, as I would, because I got thrown out of school actually. So before then, I got thrown out of school at the age of 15 in the last year of secondary school because we'd done a sponsored walk around Richmond Park. And we'd done the Heldenbrew challenge. So we just got loads of cans of Heldenbrew. It's like the same strength as supertenants.
Oh, God.
Yeah, right. So we got like 8 cans of that each in our school bag. We're walking around Richmond Park. We're the first lot out because we're the oldest to go. And we was like, so we should have been back within a couple of hours.
Yeah.
At 12 o'clock, we didn't rock back into school until about 6:45 at night because we were just getting smashed. And then we ended up fighting with the teachers and throwing chairs, and the police got called.
Oh, God.
And eventually I was kicked out, And, my mum did come back into my life sort of thing, but that was like right near the end, you know what I mean? So from the age of like 12, second year till like the 5th year, all that middle, I was left to really fend for myself.
Yeah.
That was just drinking, smoking, all that sort of stuff that bunking off school, chasing women and...
But it's young, isn't it? It's young to be into all that.
Of course it is.
And to have like the responsibilities of
your
younger siblings.
I look at it now and when my kids were growing up, they were doing what I was doing at 13, 14, 15 years old.
Absolutely.
I'd be horrified, you know what I mean?
Isn't it?
I just think, Jesus, I'm so glad that that didn't happen to them and they weren't on my path, you know what I mean? I mean, they've probably done stuff that I don't know about. And they probably had a sneaky drink here and there, but I mean, I was getting drunk every day.
Yeah.
At lunchtime, we'd go down the shop, get our beers, go back into school pissed,
And that's the thing, like, I know you and I have got in common. It's like that blackout from the beginning.
Yeah.
There's something going on that, whether it's the embarrassment and my brain goes, nope, I'm not staying to watch this.
Yeah. I think with mine, I just drank too much, it's simple as that, and it shut down my brain, And I like I say, I went to Young Offenders when I was 20. Surprise, you know what I mean? I was always headed that way. And we had an AA meeting in prison, and that's part of my rehabilitation order. Okay. So every week we'd have to go along to this AA meeting. I don't remember much about it. I remember this woman she's the one that used to chair the meetings every week. Okay. She used to come in and talk about heroin, being beaten up, raped on heroin and things like that. And I just think, what's this got to do with alcohol, And I get it now. Addiction, and there's all different forms of it. But I used to just sneak off into the toilets and smoke a bit of burn, which is tobacco, rolled up. And then that was it. But then one day this bloke came in and he was all like a bit of a geezer, come in and share his story to us. And I latched onto every word he said because it just, I could relate more to him. And he talked about the blackouts then. He said, everyone had a blackout. I'm like, what's that? You know what I mean? Where you don't remember the night before. And it came to me and a few others. I put my hand up and a couple of others. The other couple that put their hand up said, one night this happened and one night with me, I went every time I go out. And that was at 20. And he turned around and said, that could be a sign of alcoholism. It's your brain shutting down, doing chat afterwards. So we had a chat after and that, and he was, because talking to him, he was like, you still can have fun. You don't need fun to have alcohol to have fun, this, that, and the other. And his whole story, I was just like, it sounded so good, but I'm from a little village in Ham by Richmond. And I'm related to everybody and everyone's my mates, So me coming out of prison, he said, you got to get out of that circle you're in. And that was, I lived in that circle. That was my life. So, as soon as I got, I liked the idea, but as soon as I got released, we went down my local pub, had a party, went back to my house to get fitted with a tag, and everyone come back to my house and off we carried on, what I mean?
Go, yeah.
And, that didn't stop. I end up before going away, actually, I started selling drugs when I was 17. Okay. Because my mum had come back, and then her and my dad, after being divorced, horrible divorce and all that we went through, they ended up getting back together. Okay. But my mum had a flat, so I moved into her flat at like 17. She moved back home, and one thing she said to me was, don't lose my flat. No, of course I won't. A couple of years later, obviously, the cancer took it away, parties and all that sort of shit. But I was selling drugs because I was I was working full time in a warehouse job and I had a Chinese job, but it just weren't enough for me because I was always getting in debt and stuff because I was getting everything on as you do ADHD and that. Just don't, you want to pay everything off, but you just miss one payment, before you know, like, fuck that, I ain't paying none of that.
Yep.
And then, yes, I started selling drugs at 17.
Oh.
Ecstasy, and then cocaine and puff. And that's obviously when I started because I had it there, I started taking that, and that was pretty much my life up until I stopped. I didn't, and this is, to me, my life was normal. Going out, getting smashed, everyone back to the house or the flat, or because it was always back to tells. Even when I moved back and forwards, my mum and dad's all the time, and I was bouncing in and out of there in women's houses, and it was always back to tells wherever I was. You know what I mean? So to me, everything was normal. Going out on a Wednesday, staying out until, because my drug dealing was effectively paying for my lifestyle, what I mean? But I didn't have a lifestyle, it wasn't like I had houses and all the flash cars and that. I was just going on holiday and I was just getting fucked up every night. During the week, my mates and that, and like I say, that to me was normal, and and since being sober, I look back on all of this stuff. Like, we had a flat in Ham, me and my ex-missus, who's the mother of my two kids, and I'd take all my mates back there. We'll be downstairs doing ketamine, this and coke, everyone, all my mates downstairs, and the kids are asleep upstairs now. And then there may be a few of us left, and then the kids, they'll come down to get ready for school, so we're all acting normal and that. Then they go off out to school and we just crack on again, you know what I mean? And
awful, isn't it?
And that to me was normal. And I look at it now and think, fucking hell, mate, that ain't normal. You know what I mean? It just ain't normal. And, there is a lot of guilt on my side for how I was like, and thank God I'm not like that today, you know what I mean? And I remember I got locked up just after my mum died about 13 years ago. Sent me off to Wales a bit. And I was doing lines of ketamine, like as long as a table, just to get to the end of that line and go straight to another planet. And that. But I went away, and that was when I decided that I've got to sort myself out here, because I got my mum's house raided just after she died, and that's how I got caught with all the drugs. And I knew that if had she not been cremated, she'd have turned in her grave. You know what I mean? Because she hated drugs and all that sort of shit. So I knew I had to sort myself out whilst I was away. Okay. And I did, you know what I mean, to try and make her proud and try and and that was the start of my journey, even though it happened a few years later before I got sober. But we during the time that I was away, I started getting fit, healthy, and I started understanding. And that's when my kids would come and visit me, and my boy was a bit too young, but my daughter was old enough to know. So every time she left, she'd bawl her eyes out, and I used to be like, But there was this one visit we had, and it was a family day visit. So my auntie and my sister brought the kids up. They didn't know they wouldn't be allowed in. I didn't know they wouldn't be allowed in. My auntie Bev and sister had to sit outside in the waiting room for about 6 hours. But the kids come in, and we had spent all day with the kids. So we done all of what was it? We played games. We had lunch together. This, that, and the other. And when the kids left, that was the hardest. Hayley was absolutely, that's my daughter, she was absolutely bawling her eyes out. And that really hit me more than any other time that they'd been there, because we'd spent, because normally you just get the hour or whatever it was, and this was like a good 6 hours or whatever. Oh. And I remember going back to my cell and I was in bits, I was like really down in the dumps and that. And one of my mates come in and he goes, have a joint, Tel. And I was like, no, I don't have a joint. Because I was in there for drugs and I was being tested. Like, I wanted, if I'd have got tested and found to have drugs in my system, I wouldn't have been. My tag date was 23rd of December, 2 days before Christmas. Ooh. But I was so down. He gave me this joint. I just went, fuck it, lit it up. Yeah. And within about 10 minutes, right, I am, all that's gone. I'm laughing, giggling myself. I'm in the cell having a right laugh. He said, all you got to do is drink 2 litres of water, solid after, and it won't be in your system, sort of thing. And trying to down 2 litres of water ain't easy. So I eventually down this 2 litres of water. And then the paranoia hits.
Yeah.
What if I get blood tested? And then I was having to go to the piss and I had to keep walking out myself, what that's the other thing coming back. And then I was going, so it'd gone from all happy times to like, fuck. Anyway, like I got through that and I didn't get drug tested. I got my tag and come out the 23rd of December, 2 days before Christmas. So I didn't have to miss a Christmas. And then that was it. That was the start of changing myself. But within a few years, a couple of years of being out, I think it was, 1 or 2 years. So I weren't buying no gear. I weren't selling it no more.
Right.
Because if it weren't for my kids, I'd have come back out and probably sold again.
Yeah, so you just come out with that kind of determination. Your mum passing away, the effect on your kids in prison, and that was driving you then.
Yeah. So then when I came out as well, because I started doing a lot of fitness in the prison. So when I came out, I run around Richmond Park, finished off the sponsored walk that I'd been kicked out of school for. But I was appreciating nature. I was running around that park, thinking, look how lovely this is. It's right on my doorstep,
Absolutely.
But then, before you know it, you mix around doing the same old things. Slowly, I was getting half a ticket here. My drinking was going back. You know what I mean? And thankfully, not thankfully. So I was going to say, thankfully, I ended up meeting somebody but in 2018, before then, or 2017, my mate, one of my best mates, he went into hospital. He looked in a bad way. And he's what I used to call a proper alcoholic. He'd always have the vodka in the orange juice bottle when he's at work and things like that. Even though now I know there's, it comes in all variations, what I mean? But to me, that was, I used to think, he's got a real problem, So anyway, I ended up in intensive care all over Christmas and that, and he died in January in between our birthdays. And I was like, something's got to change here, right?
It's like same age as you as well.
He's a little bit older. I think he's, back then, how long ago was that now? I don't know how long ago it was. He's 7 years ago. Yeah, and he's about 3-4 years older than me. And
it's no age, is it?
No, of course it ain't. So that would have been, he'd have been nearly 40 or 40. I can't really remember now. I can't work it out.
That's the reality, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Addiction.
And that's when I thought something's got to give it. Because seeing him on that deathbed and seeing him, dying out, it was horrible. And so I started doing, I was going through YouTube. And on his YouTube videos, there was one of them about meditating, visual meditation. And it took you through it. So you visualise. It's only 5 minutes long, nothing long. And because me ADHD. Or ADHD, or is it just me? I don't know, but I'll try anything. I don't give a toss.
Yeah, I get it.
If it all sounds okey pokey, whatever, I'll try it.
Try it.
Don't like it, don't like it. You know what I mean? It don't matter to me. And so I started doing this visualization. So you visualize something in your past that used to make you happy.
Okay.
Or made you, and it's funny because of all my life, because don't get me wrong, right? I used to love doing what I was doing.
Yeah.
All the pubs, clubs, drugs. That to me was, but it's only now that I look back and think, maybe I could have curbed that at an earlier late. You know what I mean?
If we'd have seen it.
Because even I never really had rock bottoms. To me, people say prison was your rock bottom. Could be, but to me that was a break that I needed. So I never looked at that as a rock bottom. Even though I would rather have not been taken away from my kids.
Yeah.
So I was never. It's only now that I'm sober that I look back on my life and think, why didn't you? If I could have stopped that around about my 30s.
Yeah.
Or no, even like mid 20s. You know what I mean? And then.
But once you're in that, it's about losing control. Isn't it? And when you're using it to self-medicate, because you've got all the other stuff going on, and you don't want to feel the pain.
Yeah.
We don't know though, do we? We don't know we're doing that until much later. But
and then I didn't know. Basically, I've been self-medicating my ADHD. So that, you know what I mean? And blanking out stuff from that stuff with my mum and that. My relationships going through life have always been pretty shit. I know the ADHD don't help because I get bored easily.
Yeah.
but I weren't able to open up to any of the women that I was with.
Yeah.
Because I'd shut my feelings off when I was on that doorstep when my mum had gone, you know what I mean? And I know all that now, but I didn't know any of that. So, understanding yourself does help.
If you can't get real with your stuff yourself.
Yeah.
I find that it's a real barrier, and you don't see it, do you? We're just in it.
Yeah, exactly. Just, you know what I mean? And I didn't think nothing ever affected me before. I just, Anyway, so I was wrong. And so I was doing this visualization.
Yeah.
So I visualized something in the past that made me happy. And out of everything I think of, the only thing I could ever really remember, this is, if I don't think I've got a drink problem, not remembering half of my life is definitely a problem. You know what I mean? And that was caused by my love of alcohol. So I'd only remember really my daughter's birth. Don't know how, because I was pissed through that as well, but I remember it. So the more you do the visualization, the more you visualize it, the more you get. So I can remember my mum coming in and that, and so I'd always have that for about a minute, and then smile, and then you visualize something in the future as if you have it now.
Yeah.
So at the time when I started doing this, I was living back with my dad's. I won't even go on about our relationship for some another day. But I was back with my dad. My daughter was living in the loft room. My son was at his mum's. And I remember starting to do this visualization. So I was starting to think of my business growing, having vans on the road.
Right.
I visualized living in my own place with a garden. I envisioned a woman that I hadn't been with, not that I hadn't been with before, because there's loads I haven't been with, but a woman different from the usual sort of women that I'd go for, you know what I mean?
Outside a ham.
Because most of the women I went for were nuts, and they was kind of similar to me, you know what I mean? Chaos. So I visualised that as well, and then I thought, well, if I'm visualising, I'll visualise money as well, so I threw some money in the mix. Anyway, within a few months of doing that, I ended up meeting Elena, who I'm with now, who's completely not like any of the women I've been with before.
Wow.
So that was a start, right? And she was one of the ones that see that I was more than just what I was doing. I'd go into it a bit later, but she'd get upset about me being asleep on the bathroom floor of my own house. I'd be like, what's wrong with you? Like, you're asleep in the bed, does it matter? You know what I mean? I'm like, it's just normal sleeping on the bathroom floor.
Caring.
Yeah, And so then I was I started private renting over in New Malden, right? And I was thinking, I've got my place here, but none of this come into fruition, or I didn't even think about the stuff that I'd been visualising.
Okay.
But within the first year of being with Ellen, I was living in New Malden with my son, with my daughter actually. We done a swap over, so I had my son and my daughter went with the mum because she needed to be around the sister and mums. But there was we would talk about my drinking because Eleanor's never drunk.
Okay.
Well, she hasn't drunk when I met her about 10 years. Not because she's one of us, but she just didn't like it.
So many people don't.
Yeah.
I find that,
which I think very strange. Yeah. But there it was. This woman that doesn't drink, so I'm like, this is great. She ain't taking any of my drugs. She's a cheap date. This was perfect for me. You know what I mean? And then like about I don't know 8 months into it or whatever, 9 months, whatever. I don't know what it was. But she'd always be talking about my drinking, and I'd think she's nagging because she doesn't drink. Which I get now. I don't drink because fucking drunk people can be a pain in the ass.
Oh God, yeah.
Not that I was ever a pain in the ass, but drunk people can be a pain in the ass. Just not me ever. And so on my phone, on my Facebook, it used to keep coming up 1 year no beer because obviously Facebook was listening to our conversations and that.
1 year no beer.
Yeah, it's a thing. There's a book as well. I ended up reading the book. Funny enough.
It wasn't a reminder that you'd put.
No. It's just an advert that flashes up on Facebook. When you start talking about stuff.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, so every time I used to see this, and then there's a friend of mine whose daughter has ataxia of the spine. So she's the same age as my daughter, but at the time I think she was around about 14, something like that. And they needed an electric wheelchair. They weren't getting help from the government. And my friend Donna, who's her mum, she's about 3 foot nothing. So her daughter was getting bigger and she couldn't keep pushing her and that. So I thought, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. 90 days, no alcohol, and raise the funds for this wheelchair. And I had to get $3,500, right? And I knew, because I can be a bit of a pest, if I'm doing something, if I'm raising money for cancer or whatever it is, I'm always flooding Facebook, I'm messaging all my mates, I'm being a right pain until they sponsor and all that sort of stuff. And so that's what I did for this. Wow. But then it was 90 days, no alcohol. So I was still in the pub every day because that's all I knew still, you know.
But not drinking?
No, I was drinking a non-alcoholic lager.
Oh, okay.
2 bottles in a pint, and I still do that to this day. I know it's frowned upon in the AA world, but
you've got to do what
works for me.
For you, yeah.
And, you know, within the first month of no drinking, I was starting to see a change, and my business started taking off more. Felt better. You know, there was so many positives, and I was sitting there thinking, you know, there's something to this, because obviously I'd been not drinking in prison and that, but it's a lot different when you come out and you got it readily available. I mean, you can get it in Nick as well, but it doesn't taste as nice.
Are we still managing to not take drugs, or was that something that remained on the side?
No, because I mean, drugs has never really been a problem for me. I mean, I had done more than most, but it weren't you know, I mean, I'd done more than most because of, as I worked out my ADHD, you know, if I want to have one, I don't want to stop. So, you know, I remember starting having my first half a pill within about a week. I was doing 10 at a time, you know what I mean? You know, I was an animal on that side of it.
They were strong then as well.
Yeah. Ooh. They were really good. Memories. But,
no euphoric recall here.
Yeah, no, don't do it. Say no to drugs. But yeah, so, yes, and then in that first month of no alcohol, like, and another thing as well, and I say this all the time when I do chairs in that, like, in the rooms, like, Elena used to say to me, let's go for a walk. And I'll be like, where? Let's go for a walk. And I'll be like, oh, where are we going? Like, it was so alien to me to just go up and go for a walk. You know what I mean? My walk was, I'll meet you down the pub, you know, or I'll meet you over the bookies, or get the bus to the pub. You know what I mean? There was a destination. There's a destination purpose. So, you know what I mean? Now we go walking to nowhere all the time, and I love it. You know what I mean? But at the time, I was like, where are we going? Like, we could just talk here. Like, walk. Yeah, it was so alien to me. But, you know, so then it was getting near the end of the 90 days. And then that 90 days, my everything had changed, you know, the way I was thinking.
Yeah.
You know, and me and Elena was doing like normal things like going for walks to nowhere when we was going out. We was going out to like pubs down by the river, nice food and
civilized.
Yeah, being civilized, like abnormal again, like alien to me, you know. And I was thinking, she was saying to me, "Oh, you're gonna go back getting doing." My mate's saying, "Hurry up and get off that and come back." You know what I mean? So I was like, I knew in my own head, I didn't want to go back into that, you know.
Yeah.
But I weren't going to tell my mates that because you know what your mates are like, and I weren't going to tell the missus that because you know what the missus are like. They like to hold you to things that you say. So I thought I ain't saying shit. You know what I mean? I'm just going to go a day at a time, you know. And
a day at a time. Yeah. How interesting.
Yeah, that was before I was in the rooms and that. And
AA concept.
Yeah. You know, because to me it was I'm just going to do a day at a time, and.
But yours was to keep out of trouble with people. Like.
Yeah, it was just to carry on going, you know what I mean? But then I started getting anxiety and shit like that, stuff I've never even heard of, you know, like, I think, I don't get that, you know, but I'd be sitting, because I'm still down the pub every day with my mates, I don't, you know, and they're sitting there sort of talking about the same old shit we always talk about and that, but because now I'm sober, I'm not able to laugh because it's something we've been talking about for like forever.
Yeah.
And I remember one of my mates trying to look at me going, "Are you all right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm all right." Ooh. But then I felt like I weren't bringing nothing to the table.
Okay.
So then also at the same time, I didn't know how to get up and just leave the pub because I know I was going to get whipped. So I was always like, and in the end, I was just stopped going out. Gosh. And then obviously my business and that started taking off and all this sort of stuff. So I couldn't do that anyway. I couldn't sit down in the pub all the time because I was busy, but I was now on my own from going going from being around everyone, all my mates, and sort of being part of you know what I mean, being part of it and being in the thick of it, to then really being on my own was quite hard to.
Yeah.
It was hard, you know, the first year and so, you know, I'd go to like a party or something and I'd feel, and these are people I've grown up with my whole entire life.
Yeah.
I didn't feel that I could connect, you know, like socialise with them. You know, I felt like an outsider. Like it was so difficult, you know, and again, think like Tell, I'd have slapped myself about the face, sort yourself out. But I did not know like this was all new territory to me, you know, because I've spent my whole life drinking, you know, not sitting with anything, you know what I mean? And anyway, like, rolled on a couple of years, and I remember.
Oh, it's still not drinking.
Still not drinking.
I mean, you did amazing to feel all that as well, plus all the feelings coming
back. Yeah, well,
back,
I was doing psychotherapy, which I'm still doing now, and it's
well done.
It's bloody not cheap.
It's not cheap.
No, it's not. But I can put it through my business. Yeah, it is, because it's helped me deal with feelings and all that sort of crap that you just don't know about, right?
Because it's a lot of loss you've experienced as well, and I was thinking, really, you lost your mum twice.
Yeah, because when she died again, and that's exactly what my therapist said, you know, it's that attachment again, and losing her the second time out, obviously that was final and for good. Rest in peace and that, and you know, I miss her every day, but you know, I was, like I say, I was doing lines of ketamine so big, I don't even know how I didn't kill myself on that sort of shit, but I just went off the rails and that.
Just not caring.
Not giving a shit, you know. And I didn't, you know, it was all about me. You know, I remember having to sort of apologise to my sister. I left her because I went to the hospital and she was on a deathbed, and just remember seeing, I didn't look like my mum and that, and I said I can't stay, and I left just to go and get my nose fucking in some bag of shit and leave my sister and my dad out there. I could have stayed for them, you know what I mean? And I didn't know that what I know now, that, you know, if I had this head on me now, you know what I mean, I'd have been there supporting my sister, my dad, you know what I mean? And but at the time it was all about me. Like, I can't see that. I don't, even though that's my way of dealing with it at the time, but you know, I still live with that sort of shame as well. But yeah, give it a couple of years. And I said to my missus, I said, because I was moving out of because I had a masonette.
Right.
Moved out my dad's into this masonette. So we had the garden where we had barbecues. Oh, that was it. I visualised a brick barbecue in my garden as well, right? But when I was in the masonette, we'd have to go down the stairs, down an alley to the garden to have barbecue and stuff. And that was a ball ache. Anyway, so after 2 years of being there, I signed up to move into a 2-bed house. And I said to Elena, I went, because everything that I visualised, I'd got. So my business is like doing really well. I had vans on the road with a touch of colour. You know, I was with the woman that I'd sort of created. I had my own place. I had the garden that I'd visualised. And I was obviously moving to the house now. I said, the only thing that I haven't got that I visualised was the money side of it. I said, oh, I'm comfy. I'm doing all right.
You had the barbecue?
Yeah, well, no, I did have a brick one, but I had a little, you know, one of them ones. But I turned around and said, the only thing I ain't got is the money side of it, right? And then my old man calls up a couple of days after that, no word of a lie. And my dad don't phone me up to have a laugh. He'll only over phone me up. You got mail around here, or you owe money or something like that.
Yeah.
So he's phoned me up and he's gone, right, Tell, all right, Dad, what do you want, sort of thing, you know? And he's say I'm lucky. I went, I'm lucky. He said, no, say I'm lucky. I went, oh, Dad, you're lucky. I goes, Dad, what do you want? I'm busy, like, you know. And he goes, I've won £1 million in the lottery. And I went, what? He goes, I won £1 million in the lottery, and I could hear it in his voice, right? I said, all right. He goes, yeah. He goes, he went to go and check his lottery ticket from that he'd won as a lucky dip. He said, but there was another one in there. He goes, I don't even remember putting it on. He was pissed, right? When he put it on.
Wow.
And he goes, I scanned it with my phone. And he said, it comes up £1 million or whatever. And he was like, he goes, he thought it was broken, scanned it again, then phoned up his mate, Dave. He said, Dave, come round, I need you around there urgently. He says, mate's gone round there. Didn't know what was wrong with him. And he goes, I've scanned this. So he scanned it off of his phone. Yeah, he scanned it off of his phone. And it's come up to £1 million in that or whatever, right? So then my dad's gone, Oh, no, my dad's telling me that. He goes, I went over your sister's house. Tim and his parents were there. My sister's fell off. So all right. He goes, well, congratulations, Dad. You're a millionaire.
Wow.
Anyway, put the phone down. Phoned up my sister straight away. And she went, yeah, he's been over and they checked
it's
it
real,
out.
yeah.
So I said to Elena then, I went, because that's the money side of it. I said, I ain't directly me. I said, but indirectly. Like,
yeah.
So I took it on that one. And then the running joke then with my mates and that was Jack and Chelsea are going to be all right. Because obviously me and my dad have not got the best of relationships. So, I wasn't expecting nothing. But the joke was Chelsea and Jack, my brother and sister, are going to be, they'll be well all right, you know what I mean? And anyway, he called me up about a week later because he knew I was moving. My sister said I was moving to this other place. He said, don't sign anything yet. I'm going to give you, your brother and your sister $100 each. So I went, all right, sweet. Nice. Put the phone down. I went, that's the money side of it. You know what I mean? So everything I visualised had come true.
That's incredible. And I'm thinking, I can see a pattern because obviously the other day we were talking when it was my story on the podcast about the prayer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because maybe there's something to this. You've got some powers now.
Yeah.
But
do you know what?
You weren't aware of.
I have learned that when you start doing the visualization stuff, you're telling your subconscious, you're tapping into that to let that open. So I've learned all this, and what that does is get you moving. So that got me moving towards getting all the stuff that I've got now. The business, this, that, and the other. Yeah, without even realizing you're doing that sort of stuff, right? And then all I can say for the stuff with my dad and the money, he does say, if you ask the universe will give. You know what I mean? Hokey pokey. But that's what happened. You know what I mean?
It's that's
my old man knows me.
Especially as he doesn't remember getting that.
No, exactly, right? Yeah, anyway, so then now I've bought a house, using that as a deposit. We bought a house. I haven't got the brick barbecue yet. My mate Johnny's going to be doing that. He did say he'd do that one day, so I'll have that brick barbecue. But
you can have a party.
Yeah.
Celebrate the barbecue.
Yeah, later on. Yeah. But so then I was nearly 3 years sober before I walked into AA.
Yeah. So what got you to AA? So you did this time sober, and I mean, how are you feeling? Obviously, you had this good stuff going on, but you also had your feelings coming back and anxiety and stuff. Did that carry on?
That carried on until last year, like 6 years later, because it was my ADHD meds that was causing it, and I thought it was my lifestyle change, but it turns out it's the strongest ADHD meds you can get. I was throwing the LVADs. Yeah. So that was causing my anxiety. I haven't had anxiety. I mean, I get a little bit of something now and again when there's difficulties at work and clients and stuff. But
normal stuff.
Yeah. But the other stuff I used sometimes just hide under a pillow and I couldn't get out. You know what I mean? And it turns out it's my medication.
Wow.
But I went in to the rooms. Again, I was sober like 3 years, 9 months, but there was something missing in my life. I didn't know what it was, you know what I mean? Because now I couldn't do what I used to be doing all the time, what I loved doing because of doing that. And now I'm on my own. And I just there was something missing. I didn't know what it was. I'm doing all the therapy. The only person that I'm talking with on a level now is someone I'm paying to hear me, you know what I mean? Okay. Whereas before I'd sit down in the pub and we'd all talk bollocks together and,
So you weren't doing that? You weren't doing anything that you were doing before? Are you still seeing all your old mates and still involved?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, by that sort of time, it was the first year in that where I just then sort of put myself in, hold myself away from everyone because I didn't feel like I could go out. But now I can go down the pub now.
Free.
Easy, just go, as soon as I will start talking bollocks about it, I'm like, I'm off, and they don't get grief me anymore, and it's all pretty normal, I get called the old boring bastard, all that sort of shit, but I can live with that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, but like coming into the rooms and that, because I bumped into somebody, and that was, that's for another day, but, and that's changed my life, to be fair, you know what I mean? Meeting other people that have been there, weren't been there, done that, Where I'm at now, I've got beautiful missus, I've got a lovely house, I've got a business, setting up this podcast.
Yeah.
Just passed a level 3 life coaching, so I've just started getting my first non-paying clients last week.
Oh, great.
You know, things are busy, you know what I mean? I've done a business course last year, done a life coaching course last year. Things that was just...
As we do, yeah.
Last year as well, I went scuba diving, you know, and I have been petrified of the sea my whole entire life. And I went, you know, I was only 6 meters down, whatever it was. But, you know, and I'm going to Egypt in April this year, and I'm going to do the course out there. You know, I'm just doing things now. I've done skydiving since being all the stuff I've always wanted. I've never wanted to go under the water, but all the other stuff.
Pushing yourself,
of course, yeah. To pushing through the fear, because that's what makes you get to where you want to be. You know what I mean? If you don't, you know, if you don't try changing, you know, and you get scared of taking that leap and that, then you just if you change nothing will change. And like I say, I'll try anything. You know what I mean? I could have tried that, got to the bottom and thought, and because there was a couple of times I forgot that I was meant to be breathing.
What were you holding your breath for?
Yeah, because what you got to do, you got to, and then I was like, then you hit it and it puts your air in you, because I'm ADHD, I just forget, like, you know, I forget what. Doesn't matter what I'm doing. If I'm under the water, I'll still forget that I'm meant to be breathing here. You know what I mean? It's a big thing
as well, isn't it?
Yeah. But
how many of those things do you reckon you would have done if you'd carried on like before?
None of them. Yeah. You know, I always wanted to skydive since watching that Point Break with Keanu Reeves.
Okay.
When I was about 13, 12 years old or whatever, I always wanted to skydive.
Can you surf?
I would never do that. I don't mind being on the water properly. I wouldn't do that though, because then, like, you know, shark. You know, I don't mind being. Well, I went the other week. It was because it was in the Med, not the other week last year. We just went down 6 meters, just sat at the bottom, looking up and that. Wow. And there's not many serious sharks in there, but I've got a mate I watch on Strava who lives in Australia, and you can see he's kite surfing. Like, you can see like the map on the waters. I'm thinking Australian waters. I'm like looking at it thinking, you are crazy. No way. But yeah, I mean, life for me today is really good. You know what I mean? Like,
what a change.
I loved my days drinking. I loved being down the pub playing darts, cards, you know, all the fuckery you get up to. But you know, my life and my kids are so much better.
Yeah.
For having me more present, you know what I mean? Because I ain't down the stairs, you know what I mean? They didn't have the best sort of.
And to have the real you.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, not all that.
Yeah, the bravado and stuff, which I try and hold on to, but sometimes I don't even know how that comes out anymore, you know?
Yeah, but I think a lot of people warm to you that way because it is who you are, you know? It's not an act where it certainly doesn't feel like it, but it doesn't, you know, like go too far, and it isn't, you know, like you say, down the pub, what would Tell do? Not give a monkey's about anything.
Like Tell, think like Tell.
Think like Tell.
But yeah, today I'm more Terry than I am Tell, you know, because I'm always in business meetings or business situations.
Yeah.
I try now when I'm in the rooms, I'm Tell. Whereas like when I'm in my business, it's always Terry. So people call me Terry now, and I'm like, that's
Terry.
me.
Okay.
Terry. You used to hear people, mum would call me Terry, you know what I mean, when I was in trouble. Terry. It's all right. But yeah, I suppose, I mean, this episode is obviously about me and all that, but if there's anyone out there, you got any questions, or you're going through the same stuff that we've been through, direct message us, comment at the bottom.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe. You've got to keep saying that as well.
Like and subscribe
to our channel.
My camera went off, but never mind. Technical difficulties.
Been there, done that. Now what? Peace.
Lovely to talk, Tell.
Thank you, my love.